hello. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, it looks like we've got everybody here. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to today's NBAR meeting. At this time, I'll ask if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak on a subject that is not on today's agenda. Go ahead and speak up now or raise your hand.
Mr. Chair, we do not have any requests to speak at this time.
All right, I guess we'll move on to the agenda status report.
We do not have any changes to today's standard agenda.
Thank you very much. Okay, members, you were mailed the meeting minutes for February 26th and I think April 23rd. Have you had a chance to review those? And if so, do you have any comments?
I don't have any comments.
Michael, I was absent, so I won't comment.
Alrighty then.
On item 2,
On which set?
on the one that that's, what is that? Key site 17 on 226. Is that what we're looking at?
Yes, we are.
It says to return for preliminary approval. Should it say continued conceptual review instead? Very last line.
Yeah, I remember discussing that. I think we did want them to come back with preliminary to provide a little bit more detail.
Was this key site 17 that you're talking about?
Right.
This is Shannon.
Yes, ma'am.
It would have had to be for further conceptual, otherwise they couldn't come back again before the planning commission.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so we can get that changed.
Mr. Chair, sorry for the interruption. Shannon, I know that the supervisors have access to the hearing support files, but do you have access as well, or do you want me to send you over those minutes?
If you could send them to me, that would be great. I don't think that I do.
Okay, give me just a sec. I'll send them right over. Sorry about that.
No worries. Thank you.
Was there anything else on those February 26 minutes, Jim?
That's the only thing that I have highlighted on my little screen. No, that's it.
And let's see. I'm gonna grab those real quick.
Also,
So,
Leah, anyway,
go ahead.
this is another matter, but Leah, I noticed that in our packets, we got some information in there that we probably shouldn't have.
As far as what?
Well, we have like indemnification agreements and authorization of agents and agreements for payment processing fees.
Yes. So when the BAR files get created, if it's a brand new project, I have to take the packet that's submitted as a whole and place it into the BAR packet because I don't know if it lives anywhere else.
I don't
So
remember
it's
seeing
just
that
the
before.
planner is assigned.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving back to the February 26 meeting minutes, if those are the only changes that we want to make, I'll ask for a motion to approve those minutes.
So move.
Second, by Steve.
Second. Yep,
Okay,
second.
perfect. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the meeting minutes for February 26th have been approved. Moving on to the meeting minutes for did you see anything wrong with the meeting minutes for April?
Well, I have some notes on number 1. The bar comments, more details on landscaping irrigation. It's cleaner if it just said provide detailed landscaping irrigation and lighting plans. And then I didn't quite understand what on the first comment, will need preliminary and final if substitution for height. That's kind of an odd comment.
Yeah.
And then
Not
on the
sure.
second one, consider lowering overall height and alternate roofing material instead of the other's kind of confusing, I think. It's sort of a and then the last item, review relative heights surrounding. We can just eliminate that one, I think, can't we?
I agree with you, James. That doesn't have much.
No, it just isn't clear and it's real wordy.
Well, in that case, what I like to do is I'll take a look at I'll take a listen to the recording and get back to you because I think they're kind of the vague.
A lot of that stuff, we're going to do anyway. We're going to review things, but I think it was Bobby trying to clarify what needed to be done if they did this and that, but I'm not sure that should be in the minutes necessarily.
It tends to make it a little bit more confusing.
Yeah, it's kind of it's breadcrumbs, going somewhere we don't, and it's very confusing. Yeah, that's right. Just consider lowering overall height and alternate roofing material. That's kind of what we talked about, and provide detailed landscape irrigation and lighting plans. And if we change the height of the structure, we'll need a few more meetings before final approval. I'm not sure how that should be worded either. But.
Yeah, why don't we just revise those to indicate that the detailed landscape irrigation and lighting plans provide those. And there's a lot of ifs in there.
Yeah.
We're gonna get another
Yeah,
we'll
we
have
just
a
want 'em
final
to-
review. So
we just want them to consider the height and roofing materials. I don't have any problem. It's the same roofing material that they have on the same types of buildings elsewhere. And then I have a little comment on 3, on item 4. I is it supposed to be ensure site walls conform to angle triangle requirements at the intersection? Is that what that means?
yeah, that's the view lanes at that
From the
intersection.
yeah, just it needs to have, say, site walls, I guess, and then at intersection at the end, and it would clarify that then if that's the case.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And that's pretty much mandated by ordinance anyway. I don't think they can,
Yeah.
the road department has standards for that. Depending on the view blockage.
I believe they've got standards. We just want to make sure that they're either
Yeah.
aware or they're represented on the drawings themselves.
Right.
So if we can make those amendments to this, would that do you guys have any other comments?
No, there was only 2 items. No, there was 3.
Three.
That's all I have.
I have nothing else either.
All right, then I'll ask for a motion to approve these minutes as amended.
I'll make the motion that we approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
And second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. So those meeting minutes will be approved as amended.
Michael, can I get clarification real quick? I got the second change, but then on the first change, you were talking about reviewing the recording. I just want to make sure I get the language right for the first change that you had.
Well, I think the first change we want to make is just to provide detailed landscape irrigation and lighting plans. And then everything else is going to be, we can review under final. There were just too many ifs in there. And with those ifs, it's kind of ambiguous. So.
Okay, I'll just rewrite that sentence so it makes sense.
And the second one could just be, condensed to consider lowering overall height and alternate roofing material. That was something that's a direction that we gave them, I think. I'm pretty sure.
That's my recollection as well. And then the third one was the corner.
Yeah, thank you. I got that one. Okay,
Okay.
I think I'm good then. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, is there any staff update?
We've adopted our new ADU ordinance. So that went into effect as of the 17th of June. To be honest, I'm not very familiar with it yet. I haven't had to use it yet, but it is different from the state requirements, and there's some built-in standards that are different from what we were working with before, just deferring to the state ordinance or government code section rather. So that's something big that's happened recently. Also, now the north and south counters for building and for planning are functioning. They're open to the public and they're by appointment only in the mornings. So people can make appointments either for a phone call, a Zoom call, or in person. So that's a big update as well. I think those are the 2 biggest things that have happened in the last month.
Can we get a kind of a in-depth update as to what ADUs are now, later in another meeting?
Yeah, sure. I can make a note for that. We are going to actually, Eric Gomez is working on a sort of like quick 1-pager that goes into the different types of them and how they've changed from the state. So once he has that done, perhaps he could present that to you.
Just a little 5-minute talk or something. And does that affect us at all? We don't review any ADUs, right?
Right. Yeah, it's more just something on the planning front.
We have looked at ADUs when they're associated with new developments, like at Rice Ranch.
Yeah, you were looking at them for consistency with the design.
Correct.
elements, but that's more like so they could have some pre-designed. That wasn't a typical situation. It was more so they could make it easier for the tenants coming in. But under normal, if someone living on a Rice Ranch property wanted to build an ADU different from what was identified during that prior meeting, they still could.
Is there any situation, for instance, ridge lines and stuff that it would fall under?
You know, I'd have to look at the ordinance, but I think that they at least built in development standards that the planner can review that relate to aesthetics, but I don't know for certain if there's any BAR review built into them, to be honest. I've only read certain portions of the ordinance, and it's
Okay,
relatively lengthy.
thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, well, thank you for that. So at this point, we'll move on to the standard agenda. Item number 1, BAR number 00084, the Californo edition. If their team is ready, go ahead and introduce yourselves for the record, and we'll begin your conceptual review.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
in full disclosure, I currently have a couple projects going on with Ms. Gao. And if the board or staff feels that I should step down, I'm willing to do so. I also am a frequent customer of Bella Forno.
Well, that
So he gets a lot of my money.
Okay, but you're just getting what in return?
Really good pizza.
Okay, there you go.
No, but I do a lot of work with Studio 2G.
Okay. Well, as I don't think that's going to be an issue. So if the other board members feel the same, then I'd like you to stay.
Kevin, is it an issue to you?
No,
It's not an issue to me.
there's little to no landscape, which is my area of expertise. So, but I need to put that out there just in case somebody later complains and Mr. Spallino gets caught in a bind.
I do see a table with your name on it in the existing plan.
I have not paid him that much
Okay.
yet.
We're crying out loud. So with that said, I'll go ahead and ask the applicant to introduce himself for the record, and we'll begin.
Sure. Good morning. This is Laura Goff with Studio 2G Architects. I'm the architect on the project. And if I may, can I go ahead and share my screen?
Go ahead,
Great.
Laura. Have you said it?
Okay, so this project is the remodel in addition to an existing 1,300 square foot restaurant. So basically, for the site plan, we're taking approximately 300 square feet of existing kitchen and adding on another 200 square feet. And the full kitchen is going to be remodeled for the new proposed business in the back, which is now outdoor dining. And mainly this is outdoor dining because, well, there's a storm drain basically that runs through the back parking lot. And so we don't want to put any permanent type structure over that. And then in the back, the very back towards the alley, there's going to be a new 2-story building, approximately 800 square feet. And that will include dishwashing, a new 8A restroom, and then upstairs would be storage.
Can you point at where the existing building ends now?
Yes, right here, if you can see my cursor.
Oh, thanks.
I will move on. So here's just an enlarged floor plan of the proposed project. Again, a full kitchen remodel, new outdoor dining and seating, and then a ramp down that can get to the 8A restroom and access to the alleyway for an exit, and dishwashing, and then upstairs is storage. And continue on. And here's the site section, giving you an idea of the grade and how it drops off to the alley, and then where the placement of the new structure is in relationship to the existing and Clark Avenue. And then this is the proposed design for the project. They're looking to have kind of a covered balcony in the back, a little bit softer on the roof line, so it's not a false front, to lessen the height of it. And then it would pick up the same finishes as the main restaurant, excuse me, and be in the color of the white and so forth, and bringing in the siding, not tongue and groove, but batten board type siding and metal gates and a metal roof. There's also a retractable screen, a retractable roof actually over the outdoor dining, and then wood slats or some sort of fencing to help protect it from wind. I don't know if there's any questions. Or
Yeah.
feedback.
So where the retractable roof is and where I see the windows, that's an open pickup counter, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So from the kitchen, they can put the dishes out there, and then whoever's doing the serving can then serve the dining tables.
And the way you get out there is you go down this little ramp, and it looked like in your section, it's about 3 feet from the existing down to the back, right? Something like that.
Yes, there's about a 6-inch drop from the kitchen to the dining, and then we're sloping everything obviously for drainage. And then yes, it's about 3 feet of drop to get down to the alleyway.
So that's a ramp all the way down to the back.
It's a ramp basically starting at this location and coming down. Otherwise, it's just a 2% slope in the patio.
And that's a 1 in 12, and that works, huh? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, actually, it worked really well.
Okay. And that's not an apartment up there, right?
No. It's a
It
storage.
looks like someplace I'd want to live. Okay. The other thing is this what kind of fire ratings do you have on the site? This is your property line, right?
It is, and that's
How are you doing
the
that?
interesting part of it, because there's no structure next to it.
But there's
So
going to be possibly.
there could be eventually, yes. And so there's no reason why this would have to be 1 hour at this time. Now, whoever comes in along next door and builds, they'll have to make their wall 1 hour. But for this project, it doesn't need to be.
So how are you doing the 1 hour where you have this, we'll call it the storage area upstairs? You've got a gable roof and stuff. How does that work, the 1 hour wall? I mean, you're not going to have, it kind of shows as like a overhang, but there's no overhang because it's all flush. So what's your thoughts about the walls there on the outside?
You're speaking of these walls around this structure?
Yeah, well, particularly the one on the west side, because it's on the property line, I think.
This side.
Yeah, look in your like orthographic,
further.
whatever that is,
Yeah, the 3-dimensional drawing.
on T2. Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the wall to the right over on the gable end.
Right along here?
No, the gable end on the building. Yeah,
This
there.
wall.
That's all 1
again,
hour.
It doesn't need to be 1 hour at this time. It can be, we can take into account that there's definitely 5/8 on the interior side of that. But whoever comes along next, it's almost going to be like a townhome where you're going to have a 4-inch gap between structures, and then they have systems that you can do drywall between that.
I think you need to check that a little more closely. You're on a property line. It's irrelevant what's next door.
It is, but technically it doesn't need to be 1 hour.
We'll check
There's
it for
nothing next to it.
sure, because don't want you to go down the wrong design road and then get hammered at the end with a 1 hour firewall requirement, and then, you know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. And there's definitely, there's simple solutions for that if we have to do that.
Well, but
But
your
I know we
overhangs,
don't have any openings. Openings are not allowed.
yeah, but your openings, and I mean your roofs and all that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
you have to think about, and also ask them about your I guess that's slatted fencing kind of thing
Mhm.
around the, whether you can do that or not.
I think that's probably okay, James, because that's not a permanent structure.
Okay.
At least that would be my interpretation.
Well, I'd check everything.
Yeah, no question.
I'm anal about that. Now, what's going on with the parking lot? The parking lot now doesn't function.
Let me go back to the site plan. Yeah, the parking lot, well, again, that's the interesting thing about this project is every person owns their own building in this group of buildings, and the property lines for each parcel goes all the way back to the alley. And I don't think there's any agreement about the parking back there.
A long time ago, there was a lot of parking required for each one of these. That's why there's that much in the back, I think. And why they're probably all connected. So there's no requirement to keep the parking lot functional.
No, there isn't.
So
And, oh, go ahead.
James, for the zone, there's no required parking.
Yeah, now there is.
Right, exactly. So I think Tina was looking into whether there's like potentially prescriptive use in the back there, or if fire had any issues with access, but that is being looked into.
This is Bob Spallino. Can I make a comment regarding the parking lot?
Yeah.
Kay's Kitchen has already walled off the exit on the east side of the parking lot. And so there is no thoroughfare going through the parking lot currently. So that's already been walled off.
Does Kay's butt up to yours?
No, there's one unit between me and Kay's.
Oh, that's right.
Cornerstone Realty.
Okay, so they walled it off so you can't get out that exit.
No, that exit you see in the alley is no longer there.
Oh.
So I've talked to my neighbor at Cornerstone. We talked about just putting a driveway and giving them alley access to their parking. And then the rest of it wouldn't be changed, same entrances and exits as currently exists. I just want to let you know the aerial view here isn't current, and it doesn't show a pretty stout wall that Kay's Kitchen put up.
Yeah, there's also a building missing on the corner.
Yeah, that too.
So you're saying that you're going to possibly put a drive-through where the two cars are next to your property?
No, a driveway.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to be sensitive to my neighbor. That would be locked in.
Yeah.
So he'd have to have a driveway to access his parking.
Well, in a way, that's better for you too, because
Right.
you're not going to have cars parked next to your.
Right.
Yeah.
It actually works better for them too, because right now, when there's deliveries, it's kind of a mess. It's hard to get access to, and I have, a trailer back there, so it's hard for them to navigate. So they'd actually have their parking. They wouldn't have other people parking in their parking spots, and they wouldn't have to navigate around delivery trucks that are delivering all day to, Elmer's Bar and the liquor store, my store. And so it actually works to their advantage to have a little driveway there where they pull in and out through the alley.
Where are you going to have deliveries?
Where they have them currently now, most of them pull in the alley, or they park in the street. And sometimes they park on Park Avenue and just dolly things in. They used to all come through the parking lot, but when Kay's put that up, the large trucks can't navigate the parking lot any longer. So they have to park on the street or the next street over.
Well, yours would access directly from your back door up the ramp and into your facility.
Correct. Yeah, this would actually be easier for my delivery guys because I've already talked to them about it. Because now they have to wheel through the parking lot. Now parking lot's pretty shot up and full of potholes. So when they have their hand dollies and carts, it's bopping stuff all over the place.
Okay.
Okay, Laura, we can continue with yours.
I have another, the outdoor dining, what are you, is it going to be a raised floor? I guess I could look on the section. Or is it,
I can move that.
you got any
It-
ideas?
I think it'll have to be a raised floor. Just,
Like a deck?
it'll probably be a deck of some sort that will have to pick up drainage. Because we can't really do anything too permanent because of that storm drain.
Yeah, I think synthetic decking is what I'd like to do out there.
The storm drain is where the old creek used to go, I think. So there's a natural flow down there.
I think I have it in the survey there. There it is.
Yeah, what's interesting is they allowed other people to build over it.
I think it goes underneath the fire station too. So I take it you can't build anything on that drainage over the storm drain.
Correct. So we'll have to bridge it in some form or manner, structurally. And yeah, it would be a raised deck of some sort. And that way, if anything has to be removed, the county can access it then.
So that easement continues on to the east and goes under that large building, and then also the new building that was built on the corner.
If you can see the hand on here, it actually runs across Clark, comes in here, runs across this parking lot, and ends over in this corner.
It's interesting that they could build over it and you're not allowed to.
Well, it starts over there by the fire station and it ends up in a straight line over into the creek.
Right.
And there was a gas station on Clark years ago that leaked, and the plume just followed the natural
Water course.
water course, and they were digging there for a long time, trying to remediate it. Yeah, but it does go under the buildings, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, I would sure check into the fire requirements just to make sure that you've got all the information you need. Are you doing anything to the front of it at all? Of the building?
The existing restaurant?
Yeah.
No. The only thing is just the remodel to the kitchen, the addition and remodel. So nothing to the front area.
And what kind of materials are you thinking of using on the gable sides of the two-story thing in the back, the storage?
These sides?
Yeah.
It'd be great if we could do board and bat. It's gonna be one of those things that we never know if somebody's gonna end up covering it up, but to have it consistent all the way around.
I would agree. And if it does get covered up, it might be 20 years from now.
Right.
And you could use cement board. That would give you the fire rating.
Yeah, it would be fire resistant for WUI, but we would have to do the 5/8 on either side of the wall to get the true 1 hour.
In your gate in the back, just out of curiosity, what do you plan on making that? Is that going to be a see-through gate? No. Like a wood gate?
Yes, well, it'd be kind of like slats. So we're thinking something along the line of an aluminum gate, something that would coordinate with the the trash.
And is it
area.
going to be an access to the space, or is it just an exit, or is it open to the public?
You know, I might let the owner speak to that, but people would come in through the front of Bellaforno and be routed to the back, and then that is mainly used for an exit.
Yeah, that's just they needed a exit on the back, so most people are gonna go through the front door. But that gate would be unlocked and people could go in and out if they needed to.
Laura, is there a reason the gate is not flush with the trash enclosure?
No, there's no reason. It just chose to put it right underneath the overhang.
Might want to make that door or gate nice as a entrance. You never know what people are going to do if they end up parking on the side street. They may walk down the alley, and more people than I anticipate may want to go through that door, or gate. So we may want to spruce up that gate since
And-
it's first impression.
Yeah, I'd work on the gate a little bit, just because if it's an invitation to go in, it right now it's kind of, the garbage cans are a big statement. And if you could bring it out or put something over it or do something to have it a nicer handshake when you walk in, it'd be nice. It'd probably be good.
Well, you know, the other thing too is, I was just thinking, probably we can't really bring it out flush because it would just exit. You'd walk right out into the alley. So
Maybe some kind of overhang or something over the top, or just think about it.
yeah.
I'm thinking it's kind of a hiding spot. So if you left your solid
I
gate
see.
where it is, put a wrought iron one that you open and keep open while you're open for business, and then close that at night might be better.
To make it defensible.
Oh, you're thinking, oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Wait.
just so it's not like a hiding spot for somebody, or people sleep there at night or whatever.
Right.
I think you're right, Laura, to keep the gate approximately where it is, because if you don't, someone can climb onto the trash enclosure and they have access into the back of the building. And have you determined if this is an A occupancy or a B occupancy?
What did we do on that? I think we were looking at it as B, because the
Okay.
back area, we don't have 50 people that can sit back there, but it would fall under B, just for that particular area with the one
Okay.
restroom and the exit.
Okay, because if you go to the A, then you're probably going to need panic hardware on that rear door.
Right.
Do the members have any other comment at this time?
I think it's
Yeah.
very interesting, and I can see Kevin out there with his pizza, and just look into the fire rules as hard as you can.
Okay, all right. Any other questions?
And maybe in the back a trellisy kind of a thing, or something like that. Getting hand signals here.
Yeah, I have the same comments, as to really carefully review that fire requirement, especially with the balcony and the wall on the property line.
Well, if there are no other comments, thank you for your presentation. As you are energized for conceptual review, these are just merely suggestions that you should look into. And we look forward to seeing this again.
Thank you very much for your time.
All right, thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
So are they going to return for preliminary or prelim final or further
They can
conceptual?
decide.
They will want to work with their planner. The points about the 1 hour ratings need to be worked out before they can come back for a preliminary final. But I think once they get all that stuff worked out, I don't see any reason why they can't.
Okay.
But we just want to make sure that all the bases are covered at this time. so that they don't have any hiccups in when they submit for building.
Well, do we want to take a look at that sidewall at a future time, or?
Well, I think the material choices in the sidewall we can do as a preliminary final on this. I think the architecture is consistent with the existing buildings. We have no issue with the use or the setup. I think the gate should remain exactly where it is, only because the gate is going to function as a door, and you still have to have your landing and all that stuff out there. You don't want it directly in the vehicular way. So as far as I'm concerned, as far as what has been presented, I think it's appropriate. So I think coming back for preliminary final is possible. You good with that?
Sounds good to me. I'll write return for prelim final after potential fire code compliance issues are resolved.
Just one
Building
other
code.
comment. If you do find that you have fire issues and you're changing things materially, schedule for both preliminary and final when you come back, and then we can choose the appropriate one depending on what you have to do. You know what I mean? If it's a big change.
And that would actually be building code review.
Well, I mean, I think as first one in, they're not going to need a parapet of any kind, right?
I didn't say parapet.
No, I meant because they're the first one there, it'll be on the next person that they'll have to put up the parapet.
Just review the section of the building code that deals with the property lines.
We will.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll now move on to the second item on today's agenda, BR number 19-00223, Keith Site 17 Senior Housing, Daycare and Signs. If the applicant is present, go ahead and introduce yourselves for the record and begin your presentation.
Yes, good morning. My name is Greg Fick with Tate and Associates and an entitlement consultant for this project. This is the third time that we're here before you. So we made some changes that I think based on our last meeting that you will appreciate it, and really hoping that we can gain support so that we can head forward to Planning Commission. Just so you know, I do have our architect, our civil engineer, landscape architect, and signage consultant on to answer any questions that you may have as well. Without further ado, I will turn it over to Aaron Clark, who is our architect.
Hi guys, Aaron Clark with Lenity Architecture. Glad to be back again to present some of the changes. I think one of them is hopefully going to be quite welcomed. So what we heard at the last meeting was that we needed to add more architectural detailing along the roof lines. So we didn't go too crazy in changing some of the forms. We did add some more architectural detailing. There was a discussion about the roof line along the ALMC being too long. So we showed some views on the ground level to see how that experience is walking down. And then the IL building mass was too large facing Bryce Ranch Road. And then the last comment was to focus on architectural detailing and the signage. So without further ado, move on to the next slide. And so you can see right here, we have, in some areas, we have a double gable scenario. So we decided not to do a belly band and separate kind of like the gable from the top, we decided to add some articulation with some brackets on the end. And then additionally, on some of the parapets, we added more corbel detailing. So that gives an idea of some of the detailing that we changed up on the project. And then next was the ALMC roofline. So just wanted to kind of give a ground floor view of the experience. This is kind of starting at the loading dock, and you can see the articulation in the roof forms on image 1. As you go down to image 2, how it steps, and then the next slide, you'll see once again kind of how the articulations of the porte-cochere and the roof form are articulated. I think at ground level and at your experience driving along that building, it's lessened in the fact that we have kind of very strong horizontal kind of base elements. And then the mass on the 3-story, we had lengthy discussions with the ownership, lengthy discussions about the context, about the site, about the neighborhood. And after much consideration, and I think much compromise on the developers and ownership's part, we did decide to actually eliminate a floor of the independent living building. And we are now a 2-story building, a 2-story project consistent across the entire senior campus. So that one, I hope, stands as a true, sincere acknowledgement of the neighbors and the city's and NBAR's concerns. And then lastly, I'm going to hand it over. This is some views just showing the difference in scale. You can, it's an entire floor. It fits into the neighborhood and the context and the city with a whole lot better feel. And then, so moving on to the next slide, I'm going to hand it over to Aaron Gillibrand, who is going to be presenting the signage. Aaron, are you there? Seems like Aaron has not made it on, so I will continue through with the presentation. So we have looked to provide 3 monument signs on the project, 1 at each entrance. We felt that was appropriate given the size and scale of the project. And you can see them highlighted in red adjacent each drive.
Also, for the interruption, is this Aaron Gilliland?
No, this is Aaron Clark with Lenity Architecture. Sorry, Aaron Gilliland. I don't think he is on, unfortunately.
He is on. I just have to transfer him over to the panelist. Give me just a second.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. He should be able to speak now. Give him just a second.
Leah, it looked like Aaron Gillibrand may have had 2. Oh, he's still muted. Okay, for a while he had 2 separate identities on here. Maybe he's having an audio issue.
Okay, we can continue. I'll try working on my end to see if I can get him moved over and unmuted.
Okay, not a problem. So as stated, we're looking at the monument signs at the entrance. Maybe we can go on to the design. So you can see on this design that we are using brick from the existing buildings. We are using a wood slat with aluminum base, and then the signage will be raised from that. So in looking at the design, of course, we went through multiple options and variations, and we felt like this was a very clean aesthetic. And I think Aaron, the other Aaron, hit the nail on the head when he said, we don't want to create a little building out of the signage. We want it to complement, but we want it to complement and not be a little building. So what we tried to do, and additionally, the architectural, we have slightly differing architectural styles just subtly throughout the campus to provide a little bit of interest. It's not very dramatic, but it's subtle enough that, you know, we couldn't really represent the signage in that way. So we're primarily doing it with the materiality. So, and then there's directional signage that is proposed, wayfinding signs on the site plan, and you can see those in red that help guide people through and to the appropriate buildings. And then those have a very similar aesthetic. You'll see the proposed design. And then I believe that sums up our presentation. We do have an animation. Once again, I'd like to refresh and kind of present the animation again. And then we can obviously come back to this slide, and we can come back to any image in the planning package that we submitted if there's any other questions, of course, with landscaping. So with that, I'd like to take an opportunity to look at the quick animation, and then, yeah, look forward to discussing it.
Thank you, Ryan. Go ahead.
It's just coming up. I think Sammy. And the primary reason, I just wanted to kind of refresh everyone's kind of perspective as we kind of walk through and get the experience once again. This is the daycare coming up on the daycare. You can see the cottages in the background, senior cottages. It's again the turn of the century school yard, school building concept. To kind of walk through, this is a very pedestrian orientated. We created a series of nodes and viewpoints so that orientation through the project is very very clearly defined. And here we are walking from the Play for All Park across between the community, sorry, I'm going to say the care center on the right, and the walking through up to the senior cottages to the right here as well, with the care center building on the left. And now we're working our way into another plaza space. And you can see the two-story reduction. The building on the right is the independent living building, and the reduction in scale and size. We still kept a tower element. We simplified it because that was an important node. You can see it in multiple locations throughout the site. And then that's looking at the assisted living building. And then once again, you move your way through. Oh, that's the courtyard at the independent living building. This is the 2-story independent living building coming in the drive, and see how the scale has been drastically improved. Moving along to the assisted living building, with the assisted living building porte cochere. And then the front of the assisted living building, as well as the daycare, is the 1-story building, giving further code requirements. And then this is focused once again on the entry to the independent living building. And then as we're rolling around here, you can see the senior cottages. We've got these fire lanes, and fire lanes also serve as loading, which was approved by the fire marshal. And that's finishing off with the aerial. So that's our walkthrough of the campus. Give you a feel, and look forward to continuing the discussion. And I think to reiterate Greg's comment, this is our 3rd time through. We feel we've worked and refined the design appropriately, and we are really hoping for an approval with conditions so that we can get to planning permission and hopefully get this project moving into reality for the community. So thank you very much for time, and look forward to the discussion right now. So
Thank you, Aaron. Does the board, do you guys want to go through the specific comments that were made at the last meeting?
Could I ask him? Well, never mind. Yeah, that might not be a bad thing.
Grab those real quick. Okay, Aaron, so, the very first comment was the density and neighborhood compatibility and the massing of the project. We appreciate, you losing an entire floor to accommodate that and, keep the height consistent throughout the entire project.
yes, it was the count obviously went down by anywhere from a quarter. So it was a big decision, but it was the density. We were also compliant with the density requirement. There is context. There's a whole. It's yeah. Even though we had cited the building, and I think what it's going to do as well. There's definitely the comment about views from downtown, and I think even with the distance as well and the lowering of the height of the building, that has the potential to expose those views more as well.
Looks like Steve had a comment on the proposed arches to add some interest.
Yeah, they kept those in there. And I do appreciate that. I think that helps break up the overall massing and the linear lines. So the little arches kind of, to me, add a lot of character. And I'm glad to see that you kept them.
And they're not on the 4th floor anymore.
Right. So I'm
correct, and that's as you guys can understand, with such a large building, Oh, there's such a large campus. Getting the details correct and slightly different throughout is very difficult. So that's kind of how we achieved it. And that was we felt like removing that was going to make it too linear, and we just needed some more elements, and that's why those will remain.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
No, most of the comments did have a lot to do with the 3-story massing. And you've obviously eliminated that. More so, some of these comments
You can just start
just
asking
ask
questions.
more about detailing and things like that, which will be coming up in future meetings. So what I'd like to do now is ask if the board has any comments on what was presented today. Specifically, the biggest change would be the 3-story down to the 2-story, and we'll move on from there.
I have some questions on the assisted living memory care elevation A. You have some perspectives of that, but I can't quite find the building plan. How much does that facade move in and out? It implies quite a bit in your perspective, but do you have the plan for that? Is it a foot, 2 feet, 6 inches, 3 feet?
Sam, could you bring that up, please? The floor plan presentation package.
It looks like maybe 3 feet.
It is articulated. Can you zoom up a little bit more, please, Sam, to the
Yeah, but I'm trying
corners?
to find
I
it.
can't
Down on the
remember off
far left-hand corner, the
It's
dimension.
So they're
it's
going in and out like 3 feet or so.
2 feet. Yeah, 2 feet.
Okay,
correct,
because
yeah.
before they were just going in and out just a little bitty bit.
Mhm. Yeah.
Now, who drives down that road? Is that going to be used a lot? The one that you created, the driveway?
I think I honestly think the way the project is going to be used, I feel like the driveway on
In front of that, yeah.
the driveway in front of this is going to be primarily used for visitors to this building for drop off. I feel like the driveway to the left, I can't remember the streets unfortunately, but that's going to be the one. It's right adjacent to the public park. It's right up with the daycare. I feel like it's right near the care center. I feel like that's going to be more of the community focused entrance to the campus. I feel like that secondary entrance is really primarily going to be used by
You're not going to
residents
get,
dropping off.
everybody has to go underneath that portiere, right? So you're not going to get people residents just cutting through your project to get to the next street because you have to go through that little area there.
Well, what we did for the porte-cochere, we did keep it clear, and you do not have to drive under the porte-cochere. We did more. It's more of a linear porte-cochere. It's not actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So people, and I think the idea of having circulation as needed, but I truly feel like the majority of people coming to drop off daycare, go to the park, are going to be up in the top left-hand corner. That's going to be the focus of it. This is really going to be a secondary vehicular entrance.
Okay, it's not going to be a shortcut. So
No.
Elevation A, you've got it randomized. It's interesting. Elevation B, you need to work on a little bit. You've got a really strong rhythm, and they just it could be looked at. It's just the same thing all the way across. Boom, 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 boom. You might
Gotcha.
randomize that some, move it around. It's too predictable. It's kind of too repetitive. How long is that elevation A, just so that I have a sense of scale? Is it like 400 feet?
Let me see it. 25 times.
Oh, there's a scale. There's a number down at 300 feet.
No, not that
400
one.
feet.
Yeah, 367. So, and the
400.
other one, yeah, what's elevation B? What's the shorts length as well? Yeah, but can you zoom up on that dimension, Sam, on that left dimension? I can't see the short dimension, but okay, 186. Yeah, I was thinking 150, but yeah, 186 short, 186.3. And what happens is on that experience, because of the one-story building, it actually went, really in retrospect, looking at the comments, it is a very long facade, and I get the thinking, but in 3D, when we re-looked at it, you've got the one-story building, then you've got the porte cochere, and then you've got the two-story element. It's broken up. It's broken up, which we tried to represent and show in the. It's got the one-story, then you've got a two-story element, then the porte cochere, then you've got the remainder of the two-story element. But I mean, to the point, we've got some 4-bay windows. We could look at. On elevation A, we've got the 4-bay section. We've got a 2-bay section on the left and a 4-bay section. Yeah, we could look at varying the roof height slightly there, but that wouldn't change the design at all. That would be a minor refinement. We could just bump up that by a foot or so and create another element if that.
You can tweak that. That would be needed. And I haven't really looked at the other building, whatever that one's called, independent living. I appreciate losing the 3rd story. That was huge. And the effort that you put into elevation A that we just looked at, you could, this has also got some repetitive, you can probably tweak that a little bit. Which elevation is that? That's E. You could add some more interest to that. I'm not sure exactly what to suggest, but
yeah, and I always hate
symmetrical.
It is. I always hate. Honestly, I always hate looking at 2D elevations because I feel like it doesn't give a sense. Yeah.
Well, you can also, I've gone to motels or hotels before that had really good photographs in it, but also you don't see the roof at all. You see the roof from a distance, but comes across almost as a flat building when you're down close. But anyway, it's symmetrical, and to randomize that a little bit too would be a nice thing to do. From the center point, it's symmetrical.
Yeah, which was kind of intentional. Yeah, on this building specifically. Once again, to get a varying. The assisted living building is slightly more random in its form and design, and then this was definitely.
What's material 1 on that? Is that? It's brick. Okay, I'm zooming in. These are all things we can talk about later.
Yeah, I don't know, James. The symmetry I kind of like the symmetry of the building myself.
It might be. I don't have a sense for how it shapes in my mind yet. Like, it's got 45-degree corners on it, and I'm not reading it that way yet in my head.
Right.
And perhaps could we go to the image of the 2-story and the 1-story comparison in the presentation that we set, just to give an idea of what it looks like at the entry drive, because that's I think, I'm not sure what page it is, but it's page 7, but not that one, Sam. The 3D. Yeah, and then could you zoom up, please, on the top image? And so that's I think from previous comments, there was definitely the discussion about human scale. And so what we did do was define the base very heavily. And that's represented in the roof at the first floor to give a human scale.
I don't mind. I don't mind the symmetry on this one, but my eye is going to is the entrance. But on the previous one, your entrance was quite a bit taller and it had different proportions, and you just lowered it. But there's not much distance between the top of your arch and the top of the wall. There's just some little proportions that you need to think about. Because if it was
I'd agree with that. I totally agree with that. I feel like the arch is really nice. Sam, sorry, can you zoom up a little bit more on the image that you're at, please?
Detailing it a little bit better. One of my philosophies or thoughts always is, if it's made out of stone, if it's made out of brick, it has to look like it has to. If it was made out of that material, it would have to be structurally sound. And so if you build it thinking like that, you have to get more volume above that arch to make it work.
Yeah, Sam, could you slide slightly to the right? The arch, I think the proportions on the arched element, that arched element right there on the brick is actually, that feels a little bit. So I get your point. I mean, that's a very minor point. And then if you go to the entry again, Sam, it could be another foot higher. I totally agree. Yeah.
And then that window is completely visible behind the canopy, correct? It goes all the way upward. Does the canopy break it?
The canopy, it's a full glass window.
Okay.
Yes, beyond. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be a nicer proportion when you walk into it. You're going to see a higher piece of the glass is going to be bigger.
Correct. Yeah.
Does the board have any other comments at this time?
I think you've done a nice job with the sign program. It serves its purpose without overwhelming the architecture.
Where does the monument sign go? I missed that part. Is there two of them?
There's actually three, James.
Three?
Yeah.
One proposed at each driveway entrance.
And are those the fonts that you are proposing?
Correct. Yeah. Aaron, do we have you connected at this point?
I believe I'm here.
Hello.
Are those going to be easy to read?
Sorry about that.
That font, it's only 6 inches high. And then you've got lowercase, which is going to be about 4 inches high.
Right. Well,
just make sure that it's
the font
right
is, I wanted to do a font that was a serif font to start with. It could be slightly bolder. It could be slightly larger. This is kind of even the word "at" was kind of a hard thing to work with. But yeah, the font could be adjusted. I could go to maybe 8 inches, as far as height on the Capitol.
Well, whatever it is, just make sure that it's something that's legible. You can see it from a distance, that kind of stuff. I'm not saying make it bigger,
right,
but maybe make it thicker or maybe different, whatever you're going to do, just work on the font. It's not there yet, I don't think.
Okay.
The scale of the sign, though, is very pleasing. The proportions are really nice.
It's not very big. It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
They did a great job on this one.
Now, something else that we always discuss too about signage is how does the base work? You don't put a concrete base or anything like that there. So there's generally going to be planting around it. There's going to be, edgers. There's going to be all sorts of things that generally you put it on some kind of platform maybe, or just think about how it's going to integrate in the landscaping so that it stays clean and looks good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but we probably would go ahead and put a mow strip around there, maybe 4 inches around.
Yeah, show that on your plan, and if it sticks out and all that kind of stuff, what you're actually going to do.
Okay.
So to clarify on the comments as I'm finishing up the minutes, appreciate the reduction from 3 stories to 2. Recommend working on, it was elevation B to add interest, that it was a bit repetitive, but should I include elevation E in that too, or have we kind of worked through that? I do have refined entrance design and detail proportion on assisted living, more volume above the arch at the entrance.
Yeah, and in general, they're going to work on all the detailing on all the buildings, as they go forward.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
absolutely. Yeah.
I think
I
we
also-
resolved that the symmetry was okay on that building.
Symmetry's okay, yeah, but
Yeah.
just keep tweaking it.
Okay.
I had a-
We can, yeah. And just real quick, just to clarify, the proportion of the brick is on the independent living building, not the assisted living
Oh, thank you.
building. Yeah, not a problem.
And I have a question about the daycare. I mean, if we're looking at just the daycare elevation Y, you've got this like 2 and 12 roof or 3 and 12 roof that comes off one side. I'd take a look at that if I was you, just to see if that's really what you want to do.
Yeah, that was another one of those design decisions during the process where didn't want to do a flat roof per se, but given it's a very interesting floor plate form, and keeping that very strong axis with the church front with the red feature was something we looked at. I mean, if you guys wouldn't be opposed to a flat roof the way we're doing on some of the other buildings with some really nice parapet detailing, I think that could probably be a nice solution there.
We're not opposed to anything ever. It's
yeah.
how you execute it.
Yep, absolutely.
Also,
I feel like that was the two decisions as we were working through that. It was either going to be a flat roof or that, and this didn't look and feel too bad. Once again, in elevation, it looks a little funky, but in 3D, it felt okay. Hence, we went that direction. Yeah.
Well, the church front and the face of the face of the wall to the left, where it's got the low pitch, they're in the same plane, or they're.
No, that's recessed. That would be recessed.
I'm trying to figure it out from your.
Yeah. The big diagonal does tend to distract from your central element, though.
Mm-hmm. That is a good point. Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could even consider, using the same vernacular, the same forms that are on the right side, and just this building would be not symmetrical, so that you could maybe perhaps use those same elements on the left side.
The right side steps back, like, I'm just looking at the key, about 20 feet or 15 feet.
Can we go to the key plan, Sam, please? So
and
then
but
yeah.
The
but
roof,
see, there's
doesn't
no,
seem to.
on elevation Y in the front, that it looked like they're in the same plane. The church, the schoolhouse face and the low slope. God, it's hard to describe this. The two
go to the floor plan, please, Sam. Let's go to the floor plan. It should be. I would ideally like it to be stepped back. If it's not, that's probably a plan 3D coordination issue that we have going on.
That's not it, is it? That's it, huh?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, ideally we would step that classroom back by a couple of feet to get an articulation there on that.
Yeah, because it's all in the same face right now. So,
Well, what's the blank area that's in the lower right-hand corner? That's the step back, is it not?
that's on the right side, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'd work on. That doesn't look right. Something's goofy.
Yeah, can we get off this plan set? We need a lobby somehow. There's been an office been put into the lobby area. That's it.
Well, your elevation W tends to be more what I was just talking about, the sort of picking up the same vernacular on both sides of the school front entrance.
Yeah, and that's all in the same plane too. So you're going to have an offset there. Is that what we're going to do?
Correct. Yeah, that will be an offset. Yeah, and this is why our company's trying to go to Revit, because when you work in SketchUp, man. It just takes forever to go
Ooh,
back and
SketchUp.
forth. I don't know. Are you guys doing Revit in you guys' projects? But anyway, yeah, there is a step back there in that building style.
And then we've got the other building, SW&T, whatever, let's see, SW&T, which you've changed. It's kind of a centerpiece in the middle of the campus that's different than everything. You know, it's the gray ones. Yeah.
Yes, so that's the care center, and here's the concept behind that: is we the idea of that, you know, the whole one of the main parties of this entire site campus was the idea of intergenerational care. That's the way that, you know, coalescing the school district concept with the daycare, with the elderly. And I'm going to go back and tell a story about the operator. Jason Reyes of Calson Management, he grew up in Summers. His mother assisted living facilities his whole life. I mean, it's literally is his kind of life's work. I mean, he's grown up in these facilities in Summers, playing games with elderly people, you know, sharing stories, you know, being given wisdom by these people. And for him, it's a massive thing. It's a huge thing for him, a positive thing for him that he had. And so the idea here, it's kind of symbolic in the architecture that yes, it is modern, it is contemporary, but the idea is that it's looking to the future, and the idea is that this care center is where these people from the assisted living and the independent living are going to come. They will meet with the daycare, they'll do activities, they'll do games, they'll sing songs, choir, and it's this whole place where this intergenerational component can flourish. And so the idea with this architecture was to make it different intentionally, 100%, because it's speaking to the future. It's speaking to the impact that these children, that the impact that the goal is that this campus will have on these children, and it's kind of looking forward, and that's the reason we kept very similar forms, we kept a very similar sign, but we just tweaked it slightly to really represent that looking forward.
Well, I can appreciate a different vernacular there. It's the detailing that on oops, wrong button. On detail, I mean, elevation T, for instance, T, that's facing south. You've got a giant window and there's no sun protection.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it goes
That's
to
a good point.
It goes to the same comment I had earlier about if it's made out of stone, it should look like it stands up. There's ways of doing that, but by just cutting a hole in it, it doesn't express the material well. So it either has to have some kind of a frame around it that makes it look like it's holding up the stone, because the stone isn't, you know what I mean? And it shouldn't look like the stone is floating above a piece of glass. And it's south facing, and it would be much nicer inside if it had some kind of sun control.
I think a horizontal. I think at that intersection of the arch, I think getting a nice canopy into that would actually serve pretty well to that comment.
Whatever you want to do, whether you want to make that the wood and the other the stone, or whatever, and to deal with that. And also in your material board that you just looked at, is that stone is going to be a brownish color, right? Or is it going to be gray? You know your way around. I don't.
Yeah, it's your page 38.
So is that the color that it's going to be? A gray against the whatever color boardwalk?
I think that was representative of style. We can get you an actual spec of the. It's kind of the Ashlar style was the goal.
Oh, okay. I just saw the
yeah.
color down there, and I thought, well, that's
the goal is we should have graded that out and got a spec on the. That's the little. That's.
But anyway, deal with it so that it makes it look like the material is represented properly and its weight and so forth. I understand. And use some sun control on those big pieces of glass, which are going to be great.
Maybe we can get a nice frame that
would look good.
Looks like a real nice chunky frame that look kind of like so I'm hearing what you're saying with the
a steel frame,
now, like a steel frame like that.
Steel
that
frame
looks
would work.
Like a steel frame. It looks like it's holding up the stone, and it, just like a lintel, kind of like it's almost like a lintel detail. Even though of course it's going to be veneer, but I definitely hear the point about and then I definitely hear your point about adding a nice, really nice horizontal shade structure along that element.
However you want to do it.
Duly noted. Yeah.
Any of the members have any additional comments at this time? If not, I'd like to open it up to the public.
Michael, I have one.
Okay.
I've gone through the planting drawings. One simple comment, and this is going to sound like do as I say, not as I do, but the olive tree, you might want to reconsider that because of the high pollen output on it. That's it.
Thank you, Kevin. Leah, do we have anyone who wants to speak on this project?
Mr. Chair, we do not have any requests to speak.
We do appreciate the effort that you guys have made in this particular project, specifically, the massing. I find the material choices and the different languages you're speaking out there pleasing. You're correct. The flat 2D image doesn't give the buildings justice as far as what you guys have done with both material, color, and architecture. So I look forward to having this project move along so that we can then get into the details and get you guys going on a good path. It looks like you all were. Looks like you're agendized for further conceptual review. I think we've come to a point now that we can move on to a preliminary approval on this, and then work through some of the detailing and some of the other suggestions that were made prior to final.
So I guess my question is, given the status of the project, we were under the impression potentially that we would get approval with maybe some conditions so we could go to planning commission. Is that correct? Is that where we're at? And Greg, please feel free to chime in here. Greg, do you want to chime in?
Oh, that's correct, Aaron. So now that you've gotten conceptual approval, you can move to the planning commission. After the planning commission approval, you'll come back to tidy up loose ends and finalize.
We don't really give conceptual approval though.
Right. I misspoke.
So
like conceptual review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what we would want. So we could move to planning commission and work out the details on the next stage.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're getting today. So
perfect.
Awesome.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you mind if we take maybe 5 to 7 minute bathroom break?
7 seems pretty specific. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I think, Aaron and Greg, go ahead and work with the planner to move this to the planning commission. And we look forward to seeing it again for preliminary and final approval.
And we'll probably look at each one of the buildings in depth. So just a FYI.
Great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your support and looking forward to moving along through the process.
Okay, well, see you back in 7 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All right, that was 7 minutes. Are you guys good to go?
I am good.
Mr. Chair, do we have you with us?
I am.
You're back.
Wonderful. And Shannon, do we have you yet?
Yep, all good.
All right, awesome.
Okay, great. Then at this time, we will move on to agenda item number 3, BAR 2100118, the Rice Ranch Valley View home models. If the presentation team is ready, go ahead and introduce yourselves for the record, and we will begin.
Yeah, I'm Jan Hockhauser of Hockhauser Blatter Architecture and Planning. I'm here with the project architect Nigel Gummersall, and we're here to present the prototypical designs for the Rice Ranch subdivision.
Go ahead and start your presentation.
Okay, so I would just like to start off our presentation, but by saying that this board and the Planning Commission had established specific guidelines for the Rice Ranch specific plans, and they more or less related to establishing an aesthetic community character, with unifying images and a sense of place. And then some of the particular styles that were incorporated into the specific plan were a variety of styles: Spanish eclectic, Monterey, Prairie, Craftsman bungalow, American farmhouse, and California ranch were the accepted styles for this approval. And this particular component of the subdivision, the owners chose to pursue the Spanish eclectic and Monterey styles as a basis for their cohesion and styling of these homes. So
would you like me to share my screen?
Yeah, is that something we're going to share our drawings, correct, Chair?
Mr. Chair, forgive the interruption. I already have Jan and Nigel set up, so whenever they're ready, feel free to go ahead and start sharing.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so Nigel, you're going to share your screen?
Yep.
I think one of the major components.
Are you seeing the screen now?
I see a screen.
Or have I got, let me just check. I got the wrong screen. I apologize. How do I change screen?
You should just open up the drawings on your desktop.
I'll open them up. I'll open them up on the second screen.
There we go. And if you can expand the scale. So one of the key, I'd like to say to the board that one of the key components was the idea of articulating different setbacks along the frontage. And, these represent the prototypical designs that we've developed. And I call your attention to the diversity of setback and the richness of articulation as you go from design to design. So that's to address that specific goal, in the guidelines. And also there's a significant guideline where it talks about varying heights, but holding all to a maximum. All of these designs will comply with those height guidelines. Furthermore,
and just to be clear, Jan, the intent is that these 8 designs would be basically utilized across the entire development.
Right,
Yeah,
I want to burnish that point to the board, because we're not just talking about 2 prototypes or 3 prototypes. We literally got 8 versions here, and those will have variations within each of those. So there's really to take the goal of diversity in a heartfelt way. That's what we want to represent to you in this presentation. And then if we go on, you'll see as we explore each of the designs how there's variation in massing and height to address these goals. So Nigel, why don't we start right in with the first prototype?
Yeah, and just to be clear, of the 8 home types, they're a mix of 1-story and 2-story. They're generally 3 or 4 bedroom homes, and they vary in size from 2,700 square feet to 3,800 square feet, roughly speaking. The other thing to bear in mind with regards to the street variation, that just in looking at this lot plan that you're seeing, is that the topography does basically step up. So there's a lot of variation actually just in terms of the stepping of the site. Plus, as Jan mentioned, in the differential between the setbacks, and then bearing in mind that these kind of not necessarily alternate, but they're a mix of 1- and 2-story home designs. And we presented each of the 8 types are then presented on its own drawing. We can move through these types. This is type A.
Nigel, what I want to say is that each design and style is represented in a complete set of drawings on one sheet, which is making it convenient for the board to discuss and evaluate the issues. One of the things that we endeavored to do is really keep these rather classic and not go through a lot of gymnastics to jerry rig or articulate roof forms, but to make them rather convenient to build and work, but still imbibe a sense of scale and variation within the roof form itself, which is one of the goals of the specific plan. So, this particular design, is kind of has a strong sense of entry, a 3-car garage entry, a major room and entry courtyard that you would enter through. And in the back, you can see there's kind of an enclosed patio area that's embraced by the 2 gable elements. And what I think it would be best is if we quickly go through these and then come back for your comments and discussion on each one. So this is a 2-story variation, with kind of a semi-symmetrical entry courtyard, embraced by the garages with that deep. Those courtyards will be variegated with different articulations and design elements. Some will have fountains, some will have trees. So they in themselves will have variations. And you can see the strong central living space. This one has a isolated little floating element out in front, which further articulates the facade. And let's move on to the next one. This is a 1-story variation.
It's a similar 1-story variation.
Here's a smaller 2-story. So, just to continue here with our presentation, we're kind of excited. This has inklings of Italian villages, especially as Nigel pointed out, with the severe stepping of the topography and the variation of forms, but yet there's a cohesion in the styling and consistency that does deliver a sense of place. So we can, I would invite the board to comment first on the overall approach, and then maybe we can talk about the specific designs and get your comments.
And just to give some sense, this is a sample board that was produced for each of the houses. It's an attempt to kind of illustrate that we'd be using sort of a variation of kind of roof coloring, variation of materials, sort of variation in the coloration of the buildings, while sort of trying to maintain that sort of uniform theme of a sort of a Spanish eclectic or a Monterey style house. So this was to sort of give you an impression of how sort of like, for example, the base might change in materiality or change in color. You can see when you sort of see all these variations in comparison, how sometimes the garages are split, sometimes they're grouped. Sometimes the entry is set back. We incorporate sometimes like a tower element or a gable end. And so the intent is obviously to get quite a bit of variety between these 8 different home types that are going to be used throughout the site.
Why don't we go on to the landscape part of the presentation too, because that dovetails nicely into, the features that we're talking about here.
Because I think that gives a good impression of how the buildings are set back with different sort of driveway configurations. The landscape architect, I couldn't be with us today, but I do know that they conform to the Valley View design guidelines for landscape. They're incorporating the coast live oak as the signature tree, and we've looked at this for the plant palette that's being used.
I want to reiterate the consistency with the specific plan in terms of the work that the consultant team has done here.
So those are the 8 types. So you can see sometimes we even incorporate a split driveway where the garages are separate. In a lot of cases, we're sort of fanning the driveway so it comes through. It's a narrow approach, but it widens towards the garage entry. And then there's a separate pathway typically up to the entry of each unit.
So I'd like to ask the chair, should we kind of, refrain at this point and get some general commentary, and then we can, kind of respond to comments and.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is open it up to the board as far as to get their comments at this time.
Okie dokie. Can you go back to the site plan?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not exact. There's how many? There's 8 units. Are you going to put 8 units over this entire tract? Are those all your plans?
That was the intent. I mean, a lot of the units are going to have, in and of themselves, there may be some variety. In other words, we do.
Yeah, let me address that, Nigel. We're going to develop and permit these 8 designs for utilization across the entire subdivision that you see as a key on the screen here.
Does that go up on the plateau area above, or is that
just on the lots that you're seeing? Just on the lots you see highlighted here.
Okay, but you're not. There's no topographic. Isn't there a plateau or a higher elevation in there? I remember driving up there about 10 years ago and looking around, but I don't remember.
There is an elevation change. I could, while you're talking about, I can pull the topo map for the whole site, or the rough grading plan if that's helpful.
Well, if you look at the grading for the road, it does show it changes from an elevation down at the kind of the left side of this design from 420 up to an elevation change I see at lot 10, which is 460. So there's approximately 40 feet of variation across these 9 lots.
That's just this portion. I mean, if you take the entire division that we're addressing, it's much more significant than that. Mm-hmm. You can see the area that we're talking about highlighted in red on the lower left portion of the screen here. Maybe you can zoom in on that, Nigel.
Yeah.
But the intention is definitely that these 8 designs will be applied on all of these lots you see in the mid-screen graphic here.
So, but the I'll call it the panhandle that goes over to the left. That's up on a high plateau kind of a thing, right?
Correct.
And your houses that you're showing us are down from that hill Not up on that hill, right? On the plateau.
Well, the eight prototypes for the purposes of presentation are in the area of the red box on the top, but those units will be dispersed throughout all the units you see here, all the lots that you see.
Do you plan on putting any in that area that we're talking about at some point?
Well, no, only the ones you see on the lots shown on this screen, surrounded by this.
Okay, you answered my question.
Yeah, their footprint is limited to what's shown here. The rest of the land outside of the footprint where there are already subdivided lots is dedicated to the county.
Yeah, there were
proposals.
proposals.
Yeah, it's open space, and you know, the one thing I think it's important to communicate is that there's some really severe like situations topographically. So there's only so much backyard behind these lots in some cases, where the hillside is extreme. So you know, there's quite a bit of vegetation and topography that surrounds these clusters, if you will.
Now, question, are you guys going to place the houses on the lots, or are your clients going to choose a lot and then choose a house?
No, my understanding is the developer will actually permit and select the houses and sell finished houses. I do not think this is going to be open as like a buyer comes into a vacant lot and says, build me D or build me G. So
I think plus it's important to state that the widths of some of these houses are also limited to certain lots that they can go on. In other words, due to this sort of stepping terrain.
Yeah, we should let Jason is the developer. He is raising his hand. I think it would be important that he comment on this. So there's some accuracy to what we're representing here. Can you allow Jason into the discussion?
Jason, can you hear us?
Leah, does he have to be unmuted, or is he's in the participant side?
He does. I just promoted him to a panelist, so it'll be just a sec.
While we're waiting, what's the approximate lot size? Is there such a thing?
Yeah, they vary from, I mean, of these 8, for example, the smallest lot is about 9,300 square feet. The largest one is actually 17,000 square feet. So,
okay.
So actually the one on the corner here is the 17,000.
Yeah, but it's all great.
Jason's on now.
Yeah, correct. That is correct. So we are limited by the topography in some respects.
Can you folks hear me?
Yes, sir.
Jason.
All right.
Yes.
Great. Yeah. This is Jason. I'm the Declarant developer team member, and yeah, all of these plans will be dispersed throughout the site. And secondly, we will be plotting them, building them, and they're for sale as completed. So these won't be like custom specs or anything. It'll be much like Meadows and Groves, which is the last development you approved for us there at Rice Ranch. We'll build, 25 or 30 at a time, and then we'll sell a finished product to end buyers.
Thank you. Okay, so board, if you'd like to discuss specific units, just chime in and we'll begin our discussion.
In general, they look really nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I like the continuity of the vernacular there with subtle variation that it will add a sense of community.
Want to go through them one at a time?
Yeah, I think that'd be appropriate, James.
Start with A.
Yeah. Start at the beginning.
You pulling up A, Nigel?
While they're looking for that, I'll tell you, I had no comments on the landscape other than I'm kind of concerned about the coast live oak as a street tree. Those spaces seemed a little small, but that I'll leave that up to you guys.
To the
Thank you, Kevin.
Kevin, what was it on the street trees that looked too small? Was it the size that they were using?
The coast live oak's a very large tree, or it can be, you know, when it matures, and the spaces that it was placed in are kind of small. So there are smaller oaks that you can substitute that for, but
Right.
Chris is pretty competent, so just tell him to go through and evaluate that.
Will do.
Thanks.
You adjust the screen, you get to the floor plan, they're waiting for you to get on, pull up a specific floor plan. You want to do it here? And we're having a little technical difficulty. If you guys can bear with us just for a second, there's a little glitch to switch the exhibit. Fortunately, Nigel's desk is not too far from mine. We're in the same building.
I keep trying to zoom your screen too, by the way.
There we go. I think, you know, this is kind of a classic one story. And I might point out to the board that one of the objectives was to create an outdoor rear space that's kind of an entertainment space off of the living areas and the kitchen. And in most cases, these would be somewhat solar protected, whether or not their orientation is south or not. Just to create a sense of enclosure. There'd be a barbecue area out there, an outdoor table. And so that's kind of a theme, not really too visible.
Yeah, that's very nice. The other thing I like is that using this style, you don't have a facade, you don't have a front, you can have the whole thing. You go to the back, it's the same as the front in terms of the vernacular. I have a couple of questions though. The concrete, the roof is a concrete S tile, correct?
Yes.
And the stucco, you're gonna do a smooth stucco?
Yes.
Well, I would say that's objective. I mean, one of the problems that you guys are all aware of is like, as plaster is a major component of this project, is the cost of doing smooth plaster relative to like fine sand. And so what happens is I see this so often, is projects get approved and, you know, a steel trowel smooth plaster, and then they end up being down because of costs, and that
Yeah, well,
is really that's happening
30 years
enough.
ago, I did a house once, and they rubbed it with burlap, and I mean, there's all kinds of techniques to get it semi-smooth, but that would be nice. The other thing is around the windows in the back, are those just are those relieved stucco? Is that what you're proposing? Above the window, kind of like a little eyebrow? Is that just a pop-out built-up stucco? On the
Yeah, so those would be like in the plaster relief, and we, you know, as we haven't started our CDs.
No, but that's the kind of the concept.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll look at that. I mean, you know, again, when you do the foam plant-ons, you got to be really careful, otherwise you denigrate quality real quick. And there's some of those products that have quite a heavy layer of the plaster that look a whole lot better than just the skim-coated foam. We don't want that, you know, as the designers, but we'll work through that with the developers, you know, as we execute CDs.
And I didn't look at your details, but the chimney caps, are those functional or those are just decorative, right?
Well, and those are just sample. Again, that would be something we would want to vary, because I'm not an advocate that we have like every single house have the same chimney cap, but right now in this presentation we're got, and you know, with the technology of prefab fireplaces and venting and all that, those would more or less be decorative.
And the other thing I noticed in your details that you've got venting that runs around the eaves. You probably should check all of the high fire requirements
Right.
for that, because that's a problem. But I think it's a pretty handsome house.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. To answer your question, we're gonna go smooth trowel finish on all that, so it'll look sweet.
Oh yeah, and it wraps the whole thing. Looks good.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Jason. We appreciate
Yeah.
all the architects appreciate your patronage.
Oh yeah, we might go broke building it, but it sure will look nice.
And then to go to B.
Oh, wait, hang on, James. One quick question on A there. Is that wrought iron, or what is that material on the partial height wall?
Can staff put the drawing set on screen for us, because Nigel's having a problem and it's a little awkward.
Leah, I have it here open on Box.
That would be A21.
It's the elevation we were just looking at.
Shannon, go ahead and give it a try. Sometimes Box acts funny when you're on Zoom as well. So if it starts crashing, just let me know and I'll try to run it on my end.
Okay, yeah, it's the office internet is not great either. So
I'm gonna try it on my end too.
Jan, I have resumed sound. I apologize.
Oh, great.
So can I share my screen again?
Yeah, that would be simpler. Sure. Please do.
All right.
All right, let me try again.
Great. Okay.
The sort of courtyard wall there in the front. What material is that? Is that wrought iron that you're?
Yeah, that would be wrought iron, like a semi high wrought iron detail around to somewhat open the courtyard. And again, that's the kind of item that we could vary and even bring further articulation and craftsmanship, throughout the development. So, whether it's through the wrought iron work itself, and varying the style of the wrought iron,
mm-hmm.
or actually using other devices like, a half round tile screen to help, bring that sense of place to the community.
The wrought iron is nice because it has that transparency that kind of pulls you in, but at the same time doesn't feel overwhelmingly, not a lot of mass there. So it's kind of.
Yeah, but you could acknowledge that in certain situations, if you're coming down the road right into one of these designs, you'd want a little bit more separation. But I take your point about the transparency is nice.
And then that is a wood trellis there on the rear side.
Yes, like a timber trellis.
Yeah, although actually we have discussed that maybe that becomes a roof element over the patio area. So we might vary depending on the orientation of the lot between trellises, roof elements, or in some cases maybe leaving it entirely open.
You could do what you did.
For example,
switch back to a 3 and 12 like you did over the entry, and cover with a trellis.
Yeah, and I think in certain cases that they're gonna want that. But again, we just want some flexibility with you guys, so really fine tune these as we go into production.
Maybe it depends on the orientation of the lot. Who knows?
That's right.
Yeah, for example, this terrace is north facing, so we're kind of concerned that if we were to roof that one over, it might get a little kind of dull on the rear side of the building. So in those cases, we might want to open it up. But in other cases where it needs shading, we would then look to maybe do a 3 and 12 roof over that patio area.
Let's go to the next one if we can. So this is.
I'm guessing A got a lot of attention.
Especially in this one, the rear patio area is rather, beautiful space from the living space, a 2-story major living area. But we definitely want to incorporate, some shading and a roof trellis structure to break that glass height in half.
Say that again. You're going to put some kind of you're going to break the glass up somehow?
Well, no, we're going to incorporate like a roof or trellis structure, to create the porch out in that area. So you won't, in most cases, you won't be perceiving that height of glass when you're looking from the rear yard at the structure, because the developer, Jason, is really interested in making that area very usable out there for the barbecue and dining table. And I'm we'll end up with some protection over that space.
Working in the same space, because if you are, one of you needs to mute yourself. There we go. Perfect.
Yeah, so this courtyard area in the back will need some solar protection and use protection rather than be a 2-story tall.
So you're going to work on that.
Glass.
So it looks like you have a deck off that master bedroom.
That is not a deck. That is that master bedroom at the second story is on the ground story. There's no deck off the master bedroom. It's on grade. The master suite is on grade, and the great room actually is a 2-story room, a double height room that opens on to that outdoor entertainment courtyard. And what we are proposing that in reality, that outdoor entertainment courtyard will have some roof structure or trellis structure that will not be 2 stories in height, will likely be a full story or a story and a quarter. But again, from a design perspective, we're excited about the livability of the house. So when you're both on the ground in the great room, or you're on the upper second story from the stair heading towards the second floor master suite. There are 2 masters, by the way, in this house. And I think that's lending to some of the confusion. But the views out to the hillside and the trees are going to be phenomenal. But the reality of entertaining on that outdoor patio space would require some kind of canopy or coverage. Any questions on that?
Looks good.
Let's go to the next one. I have to be honest. This is one that Jason and I have kind of like, and Nigel have like debating, but we're excited about that floating little casita element as a kind of a little jewel-like element on the front yard that creates a very narrow courtyard between that bedroom adjacent the entry. So the treatment of that is kind of pure architecturally, but we think it's a real playful device that helps dress up the massing and add a little mystery. The entry is really clear, which is a guideline, but the fact that it's kind of floating adds a little bit of mystery and drama to it. So we had it once. I wasn't around, but I unfortunately missed a meeting with Jason where I thought it would be really nice to introduce kind of like a little metal roof element on that and, dress it up even more, spice it up. But right now it's shown as a pure little hip on top of that room.
What is the plate height in that little room? Looks like it's about what, 12, 13 feet?
Yeah, it's like a 12-foot plate height.
Have you guys thought about lowering the scale of that element a little bit? And play off the garage element a little bit more?
I mean, yeah, we did play around with it. I just thought it's not being a story and a quarter would be, kind of unique and be a contributor to the regular, not only the massing of this house, but a massing of relative adjacencies of other houses. So, we've got plenty of 1-story, we got plenty of 2-story to have something kind of intermediate. I thought that would.
Well, and the idea was that the hierarchy of the banding sort of worked with the kind of the level at the top of the garage, and then there was this sort of little sort of setback sort of roof element that gave that casitas a little bit of kind of oomph, as it were.
We thought also that we could play around with not having the eave of the roof, but actually having it like step in. You know what I'm saying? So it's more like a retreating cornice rather than having the typical eave that you get on most of the structures.
How do you see that veneer terminating there at the stucco band?
Well, I would say that we probably would look to some kind of stone cap to capture it.
And then
it does kind of show there'd be a molding that basically finished off the cap of the stone at the junction with the stucco. So.
And then you're going to pop out the base.
Yeah, and then we pop out the base.
Like
To be proud of the stonework.
Yeah, that's true. That's true also, guys, of the plaster work as well. I mean, the base would always have somewhat of a relief from the plane of the wall.
My only concern about
I
don't mind the height of it too much for some reason on this one. It's just that I just don't want to feel pinched when I walk. The owner walks through. It's a 6'10", so 6'6" opening. That you don't feel constrained,
right?
And that it feels safe when you go by the courtyard, which is a place where somebody could be, or whatever.
Yeah. Do you think it would help to kind of actually eliminate the eave component and have that so it would contribute towards your concern if you reduced the roof as it went up and not had it come back out with the eave projection?
You mean on the garage?
No, just on this element. And it would further identify.
It's up so high. I don't know if you're going to relate to that one. I think you're going to perceive the lower ridge first.
Correct.
And then it steps back. So you're actually only walking about 6 feet between those, the little pinch point, just so that it feels comfortable. You might even, I don't know. I just worry that it becomes constrained, and it should be open. That's my only concern, but I think it's interesting.
Well, I understand why you guys wanted a 1 3/4 inch story, but it might be prudent to study that with maybe a 10-foot plate in there and see how that relates to the garage. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't think that's a major change.
My eye goes another thing is to this little round arch thing above.
Yeah, can we go to the elevation on your screen there?
Yeah, there where it says 12-inch typical. Is that classic? I don't know.
Oh yeah, I would argue with you that that's very found throughout this kind of Italianate Mediterranean.
Are you gonna put metal over the top?
Yeah, that would need to be done in a kind of a metal.
If it's done right, but I've seen a lot of them not done right.
James, are you referring to the chimney cap?
No, the arch over where there's
over the porch, porch over the entry.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so that would need to be done detailed carefully. If it's done poorly, I agree 100%. It's just a challenge. And probably to do it properly, the weight of the arch itself needs to be increased a little bit to accommodate the standing seam and just the appropriate ease of getting it done right. But I think,
and then you have concrete to deal with, concrete tile, and all that stuff too. So it's got to be detailed a lot. Right. You're going to need good valley where the tile roof meets the metal of the dormer. Be a key detail. We probably have a full-size detailed plan view section, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that will take some study to make it waterproof and also just aesthetically feel like it comes together.
Yeah. I think we can do that, guys.
Want to go to D?
Yeah, let's go to the next one. Yeah, this is a more tame design. As you can see, 1 story, relatively simple. It's one of the smaller units, a relatively simple roof form. very basic, just a featured entry porch, kind of a classic form there. And not a lot to say.
I'd look at the middle garage, the one that's got the arch.
Mm-hmm.
My eye goes to that as I don't know whether it should be what you've done on the other ones. If you put a lintel, I think.
Yeah.
And this one implies that it's heavy material stucco underneath the stucco. I mean, heavy material like stone underneath the stucco kind of thing. And
Well,
maybe you do a deep recess or something to enhance the idea that it's a heavy material and why it's arched.
Right.
Something.
Or maybe another option there would be to, use the lighter color for that stucco, and it would not be as predominant, and then the entry would maybe stand out a little bit more.
Yeah.
I agree with those comments. I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah, it's minor.
And I'd look at the height of your entry is a bit tall, and just to look at the proportions of it again, because I've seen that 1,000 times, and these are nice special houses, and make it nice. Just make sure the proportions are just right, because it's a little skinny or something.
Yeah, I think we can study that, but again, I think I would hope you guys would agree with us that as a basic small single-story house, it's kind of nice to have a few vanillas in the overall portfolio of homes here throughout the subdivision.
Well, that's how they would have built them a long time ago.
Right. Okay, shall we move on to the next one?
Right. E. The only thing I see with this one is that there's on your garage doors, you've got quite a bit of headroom that maybe would look better if there wasn't that much up there. It's just proportionally, or make the doors tall. No, you want the doors taller.
Yeah, we are going to look to lower the plate on this one by a foot, so it's going to be actually a 10-foot plate on this one. So that's going to go some way towards doing that.
That would give better proportion to it.
And maybe we'd like to leave some emphasis to this gable, so we just study that relationship. I think between that eave and the.
I think your gable's going to pop better when that's lower.
Yeah,
I agree. The other thing, maybe you want to look at that the big element roof pitch there. It tends to kind of dominate maybe that pitch could drop by one and wouldn't be such an element.
Those are hips.
Yes, I realize that, James.
A lot of times when you look at hips, you see the hip line going up, which is
right.
It reads as a lower sometimes lower pitch.
Yeah, well, those comments are easy for us to address. Like I think if you were to see this in a virtual 3D view, your roof would fade, as you're saying, because that tallest point of the hip is fairly removed from the facade.
Got a little parapet thing on the side. Oh, that's right. Okay.
The parapet feels more natural in the lighter color, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm ready for F.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, this one is also pretty straightforward, but it's a more limited two-story. I like the diversity of heights in this one, where the hip roofs step up and you've got the strength of the gable to kind of announce the entry tower.
Good to me.
Yeah, I feel the same.
So the windows that you have, the larger windows on the second floor, how is that articulated? Is that a recess, or is that?
Yeah, if you look at the plan view on the second floor, where the tower element is open and below, you could see the double wall to give you a really richly set back window.
Okay, I see that on the rear elevation, or the rear part of the plan as well. Okay, you answered my question. Thank you.
Okay. And then finally, if you go to the next one. This one's kind of playful. I do personally like the balcony at the corner there, kind of overlooking the entry approach, you know, and the motor court to the driveway of the house. So you've got this kind of perch at the corner of the front yard.
Kind of refreshing to have a 2-car garage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you've done a nice job with the belly band there. The consistency going around the house is a nice element.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, this one shows 2 alternative floor plans with the garage oriented out to one side, this with the garage to the front. And again, that would depend on which lot and which orientation. But,
yeah, one thing I'd like to share with the board, Nigel and I were having a discussion last night about the tower element, which we both like, but we wondered if it should widen out a little bit so it engages the stair. The interior stair at the unit, so that the height is shared by the stair experience, and wonder what you guys thought about that.
I think that would simplify your roofing back in there. It would add a nice, I think it would be nice. Maybe that window could be a little bit larger as well.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, what was nice about that tower element was with its particular, let's say, its location on the lot here, that would be set back. You know, that's quite a bit set back from the street. So we thought that would be kind of a nice sort of dominant element for that sort of looking up that sort of hillside towards this house.
Yeah, and it would integrate back into that roof a little bit.
The tower is
better too.
The tower is in the entry, right? So is it going to be open from the inside?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it would extend up.
But
so yeah,
nice. Maybe it extends back to that living room wall.
Right.
Correct. The second floor is open.
I think it would be really nice if it just you experience the height as somewhat over the stair would make it a more meaningful tower element than just over the entry vestibule. That's all.
I completely agree.
I'd draw it a bunch of times and see exactly how high is the best. I'm trying to find something here. Do you have a window? Yes, you do. So as you're coming down the stairway, think about the window that you're looking out of. You've got a window in that tower, and place it just the right height so that you can see through it.
Right. I agree.
I think you guys have a handle on this. Just a little bit of work on that, and you'll nail it.
Well, we appreciate your comments, and finally, we want to show you that we really like this other one here. You go back, Nigel, to the last one, the one with the this one here.
That's G.
Yeah, 1 to 9. This is G.
Is that your only color? No, wait a minute. That's just not.
The yellow seems a little bit out of character.
Yeah, I'd agree. And again, we debated whether or not some of these homes should be all unified in one color and another one unified in a different color, but not vary, like on this back wall at the entry, which I think is kind of charming. Not try to make it pop as much from the overall coloration of the house, and just use this model again, but with a different color. So that's a little harsh to go from, like, you know, the white on the screen to the yellow. So we would recommend that be softened.
Yeah, it has a very earthy feel to it, and the yellow just kind of counters it. It doesn't really add to it. It sort of fights it, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, I'm thinking, like, you know, if we showed this to you as more pure Mediterranean with just mostly the wainscot banding, and then just like all a light color, and then did another one with the wainscot banding and all the yellow color, would be more successful.
Just be a little bit careful making a whole house yellow.
Right.
I like yellow, but you know, yellow fades and turns white eventually, and all that stuff. But
some of it is a little in the modeling, just to be clear. I mean, if you look at the sample board, actually you can see it's a bit more of an earthy color for that
Yeah,
gable.
yeah.
But
No, I think you're
it's
on the right path there, to kind of maybe not have the three colors or the three different materials fighting each other, but go to more homogeneous and let the colors articulate between the houses.
What did you guys say the house range was? 2,000 to 3,000, or was it?
It's 2,700 to the largest one was 3,900.
Yeah, so I don't know if you can hear. This is Jason. This neighborhood's going to be a premium neighborhood. It's going to be really nice homes. Depending on the market, if the market, starts to head down, we might have to, I don't know if you guys like the Meadows and Groves homes, but those ones were already approved. And let's say, the market dives, we might have a situation where we start introducing some of those smaller units. I know you probably don't want to hear that, but I'm just being honest. If the market kind of tanks on us, I don't know if you can hear me.
No, we can hear you.
You just have to figure out how to build them without lumber.
Yeah,
right.
lumber's coming down. What we need is people to go back to work. That's what we need. Because right now you can't find any labor at all. They're paying $1,000 for people to work at McDonald's as a hiring bonus. So hopefully in September all this stuff will settle down a little bit. But lumber's coming down.
It was 900 a 1,000 board foot last time I looked, but
it's about $1 a foot for a 2x4.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, my boss is friends with the guy that owns Sierra Pacific, and he says, they're a huge lumber supplier. And he says, I'm not paying any more for a 2x4. So it's kind of like the oil thing. People like to play games. So it's unfortunate.
Well, I guess we're pleased you guys were responsive to this, and we worked hard to kind of thread the needle between Jason's objectives and the guidelines, and you guys look at stuff, so we appreciate the comments.
Yeah, and on that upper roof, we'd love to do that thing off of, that little covered area. We'd love to do that in copper, but we don't know if we can afford it. And a metal roof. We'll see what we can do.
Okay. Looks.
Okay. Does the board have any other
If you
comments?
could move to your lighting sheet. I think you're going to need something a little more shielded to meet the county's requirements on those light fixtures.
Mm-hmm. Does getting the glass to be kind of like frosted or translucent achieve that objective?
I don't think so. I think it has to be pointed down.
I think my understanding is you can't be able to see the bulb from eye level.
That's correct. You need to have it fully shielded.
So you could use a similar fixture with an LED set up in the
top.
Yeah.
I think actually Maxon has a couple of fixtures that meet that requirement.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think they do. So I think we can find a similar fixture that meets that requirement.
I like the fixture and the detailing on it. It's just the shielding requirement that the county has in rural areas.
Yeah, just take a look at that. It's just a fixture substitution.
But you can sort of see we've gone quite a ways to think about some of the details. These are alternative eaves details, for example, one with a built-out molding, one with the rafters that varies from house to house.
The other question just popped into my head. Are you trying to do this entirely without retaining walls? Is that kind of what I saw?
Not within the homes. There'll be some retaining walls, but not within the homes.
No, Jan,
between them.
The goal is to achieve it without retaining walls.
I was just looking at the amount of property. If a guy buys a lot of that's really pretty steep. I was just wondering what you're doing.
Yeah, there'll definitely be some site walls, but you know, the grading plan and that's approved was designed to kind of minimize walls. But when we discussed with Jason, obviously there'll be situations where some walls will be required, but they're not generally going to be part of any structure.
Okay.
Yeah, our goal was to minimize walls throughout the site. And when we plotted our plans, we did our plotting with very little to no walls. If there's a condition where we have to put a larger plan on one of the lots and it requires a wall, then it requires a wall. But walls are expensive and they're not pretty. And so we try to stay away from them whenever possible.
Yeah, I was just looking for vegetable garden space on that 17,000 square foot lot. But
yeah.
Okay, does the board have any other comments?
no, they just look good.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what's been said. I think personally, I enjoy the color choices. I like the architecture. I look forward to this project, actually. Now, you guys are agendized for both conceptual and preliminary approval at this time.
Correct.
You know, while the discussion was happening, I was looking at some of the details that you guys have presented. I think we're really, I don't have an issue with giving you guys preliminary approval at this time. Just with the amount of detailing that has been presented. I think there are some things that, you know, we need to look at and study a couple things, but other than that, like you guys have done a good job in your layouts and your presentation so far.
Yeah, thank you. If I could add to that, I want to let you guys know we're trying to make this really the best neighborhood in Rice Ranch, and we really think it'll be beautiful. So we haven't really cut any corners. We try to, you know, put quality finishes, and we hope that the market allows us to do that because we really want to put the best product forward.
Yeah, I think the existing topography out there and the choices that you have made is going to represent that very well.
Thank you.
So having said that, I'll ask you once again, in the mind of giving preliminary approval, does the board have any other comments at this time?
I don't.
I would just only add that bear in mind that those vents in the eaves and things have to be ember resistant.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, we might eliminate those vents in favor of pure O'Hagan, actually, if we can do that. But
no, we understand that fire requirements are going to be something to be taken seriously here.
I mean, Vulcan puts out a pretty good product too. So.
Yeah, there's other options too. But
yeah, there is.
Just to be aware of it.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
with that said, I'll ask for a motion to approve this, to give a preliminary approval on this project.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, so you guys have been granted preliminary approval. Go ahead and work with your planner to move forward.
Hey,
Thank you, everybody.
Guys. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. Have a good day.
So, Evan,
All right,
you
thank you.
on that one, and then was it James who was the second or Steve second?
We all seconded it.
Okay, I'll just choose somebody.
Hey, you all get a 10% discount on the houses too, just so you know. Just kidding.
Oh, good.
That's illegal, Jason.
I'm just joking.
I just want pizza.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, you guys.
Everybody have a great weekend.
Take care.
Hey, you too.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Is there any other discussion that the board needs to have at this time?
No.
Not hearing anything. I'd like to get a motion to close this meeting.
Me too.
Moved.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Have a great weekend, guys.
See ya.
Aye.
Bye.
Thanks.